your phone and text me Merry Christmas. Let me know you care. Just a word or two of text from you will remind me you're still there. You don't have to add much to it. One smiley face will do. Baby, text me Merry Christmas, 'cause I'm missing kissing you.
Text me Merry Christmas, make my holiday complete. Though you're far from me, say you'll be RB. That's a text I'll never delete. Choose just the right emoji, one that makes me LOL. And if you text me something naughty, I promise I won't tell.
I don't care if you spell things right. I just want to hear from you tonight. Stroke those keys with your delicate touch and type those little words that mean so much.
Hi,
Hey,
how are you?
okay.
Miss you.
Miss you too.
Xmas sucks without you.
I know. LOL.
Love you.
Love you.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
A Facebook message isn't quite as sweet. I need more from at you than just a tweet.
A snap on Snapchat doesn't last, and voicemail that's from Christmas past. Text me Merry Christmas,
Send a selfie too.
if you do, I'll go neath the mistletoe
And pretend my screen is you. Show me that you love me. Text, hold a kiss and hug me. I'll be right here waiting for my pants to start vibrating. Baby, text me Merry Christmas, and I will text you too. This Christmas, it's the least that we can do. Merry Christmas.
We come into this world unknown, but know that we are not alone.
Don't be the thing if you ain't holding me tight. You're all that I need. one day everything changed. You're all I need. Underneath the tree,
We come into this world unknown, but know that we are not alone. They try to knock us down, but change is coming. It's our time now.
Hey, everybody loses it. Everybody wants to throw it all away sometimes. And hey, yeah, I know what you're going through. Don't let it get the best of you. You'll make it out alive. Oh, people like us, we gotta stick together. Keep your head up, nothing lasts forever. Here's to the damned, to the lost and forgotten. It's hard to get high when you're living on the bottom. We are all misfits living in a world on fire. Sing it for the people like us, the people like us.
Hey, this is not a funeral. It's a revolution after all. Your tears have turned to rage. Just wait. Everything will be okay. Even when you're feeling like you're going down in flames. No, people like us, we gotta stick together. Keep your head up, nothing lasts forever. Here's to the damned, to the lost and forgotten. It's hard to get high when you're living on the bottom.
We are all misfits living in a world on fire. Sing it for the people like us, the people like us. You just gotta turn it up loud when the flames get higher. Sing it for the people like us, the people like us. They can't do nothing to you, they can't do nothing to me. This is the life that we choose, this is the life that we lead. So throw your fists in the air, come out if you dare. Tonight we're gonna change forever. Everybody loses it.
Everybody wants to throw it all away sometimes.
Oh, people like us, we gotta stick together. Keep your head up, nothing lasts forever. Here's to the damned, to the lost and forgotten. It's hard to get high when you're living on the bottom. We are all misfits living in a world on fire. Sing it for the people like us, the people like us. You just gotta turn it up loud when the flames get higher. Sing it for the people like People like us, the people like us.
Squarespace presents.
It's UUCC Zoom In Live with special guests Will Barrett and Jenna Bradbourne. Here's your host, David Kantor.
Well, good evening, everybody. Here we are, episode 9 of UUCC Zoom In Live. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to all of you. We're glad that you've included us in your holiday season activities. A reminder to everybody, please use the chat function at the bottom of your Zoom screen to announce yourself. Make sure you send it to everybody and not just the panelists, because your fellow congregants want to know that you're here. Well, like I mentioned to you before about Hanukkah, my family had a Zoom Christmas where we all decided to stay apart this year out of an abundance of caution. So my son and his family were in Boston. My daughter and her husband stayed in Houston. That's Liz, who's producer here sometimes. And of course, Marielle and I are here in Cleveland. We Zoom a lot of the time. We opened gifts long distance and shared lots of virtual hugs. And I have to admit that I've been celebrating Christmas for close to 40 years now. And this was probably the quietest one ever, with no family physically present. So now, I don't know what your family traditions are. Ours for Christmas Eve are to watch a holiday movie and have pizza. Pizza was no big deal this year. And actually, the holiday movie was easier this year as well, because normally in my household, there's a lot of fighting about what holiday movie we're going to watch. It's a Wonderful Life or Elf or Holiday or one of those movies. But alas, those are not Mary Ellen's and my favorite movie. Our favorite holiday movie, of course, is that classic holiday movie called Die Hard, which takes place on Christmas Eve. Mary Ellen and I love watching that movie, but alas, my kids, not so much. But this year, no kids. So Die Hard it was without an issue at all. Of course, we also had less hustle and bustle in general. So we had more time to reflect on the spirit of the season, fewer people to clean up after, more basketball to watch, what have you. We kind of liked it, but I have to admit, we would not want to make a habit out of it. Now, a couple of quick show notes for you. If you've been with us before, thank you for coming back. If this is your first time, we're glad you're here. And we hope that being with us every couple of weeks becomes part of your routine. And as a reminder, if you've missed any past show and you want to check it out, virtually all the episodes are now up on the UUCC YouTube channel. And of course, future episodes will be going on as well, typically a couple of weeks after the episode airs live for us all. And a couple of other things I wanted to mention to you this evening. Firstly, in case you haven't noticed, there will be adult religious education classes beginning in the next couple of weeks. Some will start this Sunday, some will start the Sunday after. They're typically Sundays starting at 10 o'clock in the morning. And one of the classes is near and dear to my heart, of course. And we're offering the Credo for Adults class, which is the adult version of the coming of age class for the youth, where you'll deal with all the big questions like God, heaven and hell, good and evil, the afterlife, what have you, as you think about, discuss, and develop your own thoughts on what you believe. That class is being facilitated by your friend and mine, Melissa Vandergriff, and yours truly helps out with that class as well. And the one other thing you might not have seen anything about up till now, but you'll see it shortly, is we are having a UUCC game night sponsored by the membership committee. That's going to be a virtual game night taking place on Saturday evening, January 23rd, 7 to 9 p.m., where you can join with your fellow UUCC congregants for fun games in both team and individual formats, with some of your fellow members serving as show hosts for the evening. So more info on that will be coming soon, but for now, save the date, Saturday, January 23rd, 7 to 9 p.m. If you have questions, reach out to Allison Bastian. Don't call me, call Allison. So with that, we typically have Jack Ullman with us, but I don't think Jack is here with us tonight, is he, Carol? I guess he's not. So Jack, as you might recall, was traveling down to Florida, and in fact, he made it there in one piece, fortunately. And he apparently is busy gallivanting around in Florida, having a grand old time. He was out to dinner tonight, as opposed to being with us. So I don't know what this is about us, what have you. So we are without Jack this evening. So let's get into our show this evening. So as you know, we thought we'd try something different again tonight. A number of you have commented over the time the show's been running about how much you like the show's co-host concept. And they even like the co-hosts themselves. No accounting for taste, I guess. Well, we like them a lot too. And despite the fact we know much more about them than you do. So we thought we'd give you an opportunity to learn much, much more about them this evening. So everybody, please give a big UUCC welcome to the show co-hosts, Jenna Bradbourne and Will Barrett.
Right.
Hello.
Well, hi guys. Thanks for being here. How you guys doing this evening?
I'm feeling pretty
Very
good.
much here. This is gonna be a mess.
Have a little more confidence in yourself.
I'm trying. Well,
So how have your holidays been going? Will, talk to me about how your holidays have gone.
Holiday, it went pretty well, you know. It was nice to be back home with the family from school. No, my brother's not here currently. He's in California, but it was nice to be here with the rest of the family.
So is it truth to the rumor that he went to California because he heard you were coming back to the house? Is that true?
I can't confirm anything, but that's popular belief. I'm not gonna challenge that.
And Jenna, how are your holidays going?
my holidays went very well. I've been home, so I'm still home.
You're still home. Okay.
I'm still home. We stayed home for the majority of the holiday season, and it was just nice to be at home with family. We had a nice quiet Christmas. Definitely odd. Looking forward to next year being a little more busy, but it was good.
Yeah. So how have you been spending your time?
Which one of us are you asking?
I'm asking either one of you. Jenna, I'm asking you. Okay, Jenna, you answer this question first.
Pretty much just trying not to lose my mind, but a lot of art. I'm working on a Christmas puzzle that I got from my grandma. I'm almost done with it. Painting. My sister's been doing some cross stitch, which has been really cool to watch. Singing occasionally, and sleeping mostly.
And Will, aside from sleeping, what have you been doing?
Let's see. Running up my parents' bills, eating up all their food. I've been mostly staying in the house. I've also been doing a lot of artwork myself, and I've been doing a lot of writing as well.
So where are you guys at in school right now? Is like your fall semester over, or is your fall semester still got more to do? Will, what's the scoop with Kent State? What do you got going on right now? Semester over right now? And you're in between semesters or what?
Fall semester just ended, and spring semester doesn't begin until next month. So I'm currently on break.
Got it. And Jenna, how about you?
I'm also on break, and my school is also on a semester schedule. So my classes will end the second week that we get back to school. So I think third week of January, which is fine because I'll take some form of final after 2 weeks of break. But yeah, other than the stupid English paper that I have to do, I'm on break.
So I don't think everybody knows about your stupid English paper. So why don't you share them with the audience a little bit so they can all go, oh, poor Jenna.
Oh. So my English teacher assigned a lengthy research paper over The Great Gatsby. You can groan now. And and it's in combination with my procrastination skills. It's not been fun to deal with, but I'm one paragraph in, and I have 2 full pages of writing in MLA format. So that's one paragraph for under the requirements.
And
so much fun.
And your school is very challenging when you're supposed to write a 2-paragraph paper. Is that right?
It's like 5 paragraphs, so no.
So we're making an assumption everybody knows where you guys go to school, what have you. When we take a quick step back here and let folks know where you go to school, who your family is, all that kind of the boring background stuff, just so people know who you are. So Jenna, tell people who you are.
So I'm a sophomore at Twinsburg High School, and I am the oldest daughter to Mark and Rose Bradbourne, and I am the older sister to 11-year-old Jillian, and yeah, that's it.
And now let's find out about your brother, Will. Will, what's the scoop?
Okay, so I was adopted by the Bradbourne family in 2007. Nah.
What you don't hear is my parents screaming upstairs.
My mother also found that one funny. Speaking of, I'm a sophomore at Kent State University, and I'm the middle child of Erica Brown and William Barrett III, hence my name. And I'm a younger sibling to Eric Brown and older sibling to Indigo Brown Barrett.
That's right. That's right. You have classic middle child syndrome. Did you know that, Will?
Tell me about it.
Yeah. So now, I've been thinking over and over again, how much you remind me of my sister, because she was the middle child of my family. And now I get why. It's all very clear to me now.
I'm glad you understand.
So let's go back to the beginning for both of you. So this is going to be a little bit more helpful, because when we talk to the two of you, you guys might actually remember the days of your youth, unlike, we ask other people to go back to their beginnings, so we asked Mark Weber to go back to his beginning, and he can't remember a thing before age 50. He's still, it's still more years than you guys got. So let's hear from the two of you. So Will, where are you from? Are you from Cleveland originally? Are you from somewhere else? Talk about that.
I am originally from Cleveland, and I grew up a UU, but not in a typical way. I wasn't born a UU. Funny enough, my mother discovered this church around 2006, 2007-ish, when my sister did ballet at the church. And then we started coming in like 2007. So I've been in this church since I was about 7 years old.
And Jenna, how about you? You from Cleveland?
Yeah. We were raised, I was raised in the Cleveland area, and we were actually born and raised in the UU church. My parents were married there, so Jill and I have been in the church our whole lives.
And are your parents from Cleveland also?
No, my parents are from everywhere. Mom was a Army brat, so she was born in Illinois. Thank you, Mom. And then Dad was born in Kansas. And then they moved 3 or 4 times each, I think. So all sorts of places.
Is that your dog, Will, or something else going on there?
I think that might be Indigo.
I thought that might be Indigo also. Nicely played, Indigo.
Hey, Queso, since you want to talk a lot, say hello to the church people.
That is not Indigo, right? That's not Indigo.
Nah, she's a lot cuter and less annoying.
Indigo is, I'm sure, yes. So, Will, do you still live in the same house that you were living in when you were born, or have you moved?
I would say I'm living in the same house. I lived between the house I'm currently in and my grandparents' house as a child. So this is one of the many. I'm still living in one of the houses that I lived in.
And Jenna, how about you?
This is actually the second house that I've lived in. We lived over in Lyndhurst by Brush High School for the first 10 years of my life. And then we moved here to Twinsburg about 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years.
So, Jenna, what's your earliest childhood memory? What do you remember the most from when your youngest days?
probably my earliest childhood memory, and I'm sure we're all going to be shocked by this, it involves a dog. The neighbor next to me had a German Shepherd that gate was right outside my bedroom window. So my earliest memory is always saying goodnight to Rocky before I went to bed. And I distinctly remember a few times he would bark, and like if I had forgotten, and until I said goodnight to him, and then we were done. It was the most adorable thing ever, and one of my fondest memories.
And Will, how about you? What do you remember from your youngest days? Was that your mother telling you what to remember, by the way?
No, that was her asking me about the internet connection.
Oh,
But as far as my younger days, the better question is, where do I start? All right. Well, one of my fondest memories was my neighbor next door, Miss Hawkins, always going over to her house, because whenever I went over there, she would always have like treats for me, or she would make some type of food, whether it was pork and beans, or she would have like popsicles or chocolate over there. And one particular moment was that I would go over to her house and she would allow me to jump in her bed, which was special considering the fact that her own grandkids weren't even allowed to jump in the bed.
so she liked you better than her own grandchildren, huh?
You could say that.
So let's stay on this most memorable track for a second. And what are the things you remember most from your time in the church's RE program? I mean, aside from either having me as your mentor in the current coming of age program, or having me part of your mentor team during that year. So aside from that, Will, what else did you find most memorable during your time in RE?
I would say coming up doing the musicals. You know, I did, was it the Big Bad Musical and Little Shop of Horrors, which probably shouldn't have been doing Little Shop of Horrors with a bunch of elementary school kids, but you know, yeah.
And what do you remember? So what grabbed you? What keeps those memories in your mind? What about those times is still etched in your memory?
Well, the fact that I was one of the youngest people on the cast, that everybody was like years older than me. Like almost everybody who was on the cast was at least apart from like a few of the people in my grade, mostly everybody on the cast was in middle or high school. So I'm just this young, rambunctious kid running around, and all these adults and older teenagers are trying to calm me down so they could get a show together. And the fact that for Little Shop of Horrors specifically, they didn't have any specific roles that they could put me in, so I was pretty much doing all the extras.
So you had multiple roles.
Pretty much, yeah.
And Jenna, what do you remember most from your time so far in the church youth religious education program?
Those who know me know I'm a big people person. So honestly, it's just the people at certain moments in time, like Reverend Bud. I mean, that man was a staple of my childhood, and I miss him dearly. Or Ken and Debbie, just them doing RE for me. I mean, you and John Bacon and Erica, the Will's mom, and Rochelle, like, doing coming of age with me. It's just a lot of little moments that compile to this really awesome community of people. And I think that's the big thing.
So this is kind of a stupid question to ask based on both of you guys are saying, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So does Unitarian Universalism suit you, or are you thinking, when I'm old enough, I am getting as far away from this as I possibly can. So Rabbi, Pope, Imam, here I come. Jenna?
I'll let Jenna answer that one first.
To be honest, Unitarian Universalist is probably the closest thing I'll ever get to a religion. I don't have an aversion to religion. I just don't feel the need to have it be a part of my life all the time. So no, Unitarian Universalism will probably be the thing if I continue to have religion be a part of my life.
Will? Will?
Well, for me, you see, Unitarian Universalism, pretty much the principles of it are pretty much the ones that I carry throughout my life with everything that I do. But I still have spent a lot of time exploring different faiths. Now, even when I was in 7th grade for RE, when we went to different churches, I still, even after I stopped attending church as often, I still explored different faiths. Like, I used to go to temple with an old friend of mine, as well as going to like Christian related events on campus just to see what it's about. Like, I might not necessarily share the same beliefs, but it's still nice to explore different faiths and to get an understanding of why everybody chooses what they choose.
Definitely, I agree.
So you know what I find to be interesting? So you guys both know, we've talked about this 100 times before. I grew up as an Orthodox Jew. I went to an Orthodox Jewish school, but didn't really go to a synagogue routinely. And really, our congregation is the only one that I've attended on a routine basis. And as you both know, my thought processes and my beliefs have changed a lot over the years. It's one of the reasons why I like teaching coming of age. It's one of the reasons I like doing the credo class for adults, is to help me figure out a bunch of that stuff out. But all that aside, the thing that the congregation does give you is that community, that sense of community, that larger family. And it's the kind of thing that, at least for me, this ties in with what both of you have been talking about. I think about relatives and friends of mine many of whom, most of the relatives, of course, are Jewish, but they really don't have a community. They don't go to a synagogue routinely, or other friends of mine who might be Christian don't go to church routinely. And stuff happens in their life, either good or bad, and they got a really small group of people who are around there for either the good or the bad. And I just think about how the congregation has been around for major life events for me and my family, and I just found that to be so comforting and so supporting. And it's kind of along the lines of what you guys have said you've experienced in the RE program. And I'll just vouchsafe that as you mature and as you get older, if you opt to hang around in the UU congregation, or really most any other kind of congregation, you'll get the same kind of experiences going forward as well. So now that I've babbled on about that, we can move on. So Will, I want you to complete this sentence. The thing I like the most about the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Cleveland, or its predecessor, is?
Well, as you were saying before, the community, the sense of community that the church, that our congregation has. Because,
Jenna, how about you? Answer that question.
Well, in addition to community, I think the amount of freedom it's given me as a, young adult and child to make my own decisions and learn what I think is right. And the way I grew up around learning about politics and social justice and the things that have become super important to me now, a lot of them stem from what I've learned in the Unitarian Universalist Church.
So now
That's a good one.
It's a good answer. Yeah. Don't you wish you gave that answer now? You've been thinking, why didn't the older person give that answer? But never mind, Will. We love you anyway. So now, Jenna, I want you to answer this question first. And that is, if I could change one thing at UUCC, I would blank. Fill in that blank.
I think it would be diversity, because when we merged with the new church, like we got a lot more young people, which was definitely a change in diversity. But I would love to see going forward more people of different faith backgrounds, more people of different races and who identify differently, in sexual norms and in just gender. Like, I want to see more diversity, because when I was growing up, it was all white people mostly. And so if I want to raise my children in a church similar or in the UUCC church, I would want them to be raised with more diversity.
Will, how about you? If you're going to answer that question, how would you fill in that blank? If I was going to change one thing about UUCC, I would blank.
Well, to kind of piggyback off of Jenna's answer, I want to specifically see some more Black people in the church, and more like younger Black people around my age, or maybe more in the youth programs. Because, you know, growing up going through RE classes, there weren't many kids that looked like me. Like, I didn't even, like, there weren't other kids besides my siblings and maybe a few other families here and there. And I didn't even have anyone in my RE classes who looked like me until I got to middle school. So I would like to see more people in their 20s, 30s, more young children who are Black attending the UU church.
See, well, Will, I want to point out to you that your mother did this intentionally for you, because she wanted you to have the experience in the church's RE program that she had in going to her regular school, where she was the only person of color, one of the few people of color in the school she went to. And she wanted you to feel her experience that she had.
If she wanted me to feel that, she would have sent me to private school.
Little battles, Will, little battles.
So when I'm just hanging out with my friends, depending on who they are, we might spend time talking about family or sports, or current events or politics or sports or movies or books or sports or church, whatever. So what do you talk about when you're with your friends? What are the major topics of conversation these days? What are you and your friends talking about these days?
And that could vary depending on which friend group I'm with. But typically we talk about things like, you know, popular culture. We talk about music, sports. We also surprisingly enough, I talk a lot about politics with my friends, like a lot more than I have in the past with a lot of my other friend groups. And just, it's nice to know that I can have these conversations with my friends without it kind of going overboard or kind of getting to a point where I have to educate them, because, you know, it's not my job to educate people on certain topics, even though I'm an education major. But it's nice to be able to have those conversations with my friends.
So do you think that's a function of well, it must be a function of the world we're living in right now? If it was a calmer time, let's say Hillary had won the last election, or Biden had been president, was still president now, and some of the tumult we've had and some of the more explicitness of systemic racism had been on the table along the way, and we had some of those dialogues larger in society in a healthy manner, or in a healthier manner. Do you imagine that you would have the same kinds of conversations about politics now, or has the dysfunction in our society pushed that a little bit harder into your consciousness and into the people you talk to about this stuff?
I feel like regardless, I would still be having these conversations. I would still be talking about these things openly, because it's not like just because we're in times of peace that these things go away. Like, one thing that a lot of people do is that they tend to ignore things just because it doesn't affect them directly. Like, I personally can ignore things like racism because it affects my everyday life in little ways that the average person wouldn't notice.
Jenna, how about for you? What do you talk about with your friends these days?
Not a lot other than what's going on in our personal lives, drama or relationships, because I don't know, we're a group of girls. But for me, politics has been a big topic of conversation this year. I've been getting really into it through conversations with my dad, and then I started talking about it with my friends who weren't as aware of what was going on and how it worked. And so as I was learning, I was also teaching to my friends, and then also having discussions with people on social media about what was going on and what their opinions were and how they were viewing it. So that was a really fun topic of conversation for me this year.
So I want to switch gears for a second. I'm going to ask you a question about this show. So for those of you who don't know, so as we play several songs leading up to the show starting. We play a show and we play a song in a few minutes. We have a song that wraps up at the end. And each show, I ask my co-host for a song that will play to basically help broaden our musical horizons a little bit. So with that as background for the audience, question, Jenna, for you and Will. So when I ask you guys for musical suggestions, I'm almost always surprised at what you give me. Because I'm expecting Billie Eilish and Cardi B and Ariana Grande or Lil Nas or whatever. And I might get some of that, but I also get Dolly Parton, Bill Withers, and Michael Jackson. So what's up with that? So who's influenced your taste in music? And what do you most listen to these days? Jenna, you're up first on this one.
Well, first I gotta say I was raised right, so let's just flatten that one out.
Mommy, thank you for the dog.
But it was honestly mostly my dad. The first thing that I really remember listening to is the Beatles, because that's what he and his dad listened to. And from there, my dad has, quite honestly, the widest range of music I have ever seen in my life. I mean, the man listens to everything. And he was in bands when I was growing up. And, it was always a part of my life. So coming from that, it just kind of manifested itself in me to basically listen to music everywhere I go. And it's a huge part of my life because of it.
Well, how about you?
I remember we were making fun of you about this question during the rehearsal meeting.
Yes, so you were. Making fun. You were mocking me. Mocking, I say.
Hey, I mean, if you have to Google current artists for the question, that's okay. I'm not
totally
knocking
fine.
your hustle.
No judgment.
But a lot of my music interests, my early music interests mainly came from my parents. My parents put me onto a lot of different music, including Bill Withers and Michael Jackson, RIP to both of them. But my parents also put me onto a lot of stuff like, put me onto a lot of Ohio funk, put me onto a lot of Minneapolis funk, a lot of jazz and soul, and a lot of things that most kids typically don't grow up on. But I was put on, my dad was the one who put me onto hip hop music as a kid. And I kind of just took all these music interests that I liked and I ran with it. And that led me to discover more music on my own, because my parents will tell you a lot of the music I listen to is usually music that I discovered on my own, and that I show as much music as my parents have showed me. I've also introduced them to a lot of different music. They don't always necessarily like the music I show them, but hey.
So, Will, I'm going to ask you the question that Jenna asks everybody. And that is, so if you could go back in time and give your very young self one piece of advice, What would you tell yourself?
I'm gonna give a little twist to that question. I wouldn't go back in time and give myself any advice because I like to live my life with no regrets. Because I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason, that there's no coincidences. Everything I was doing back when I was a little rambunctious child, or when I was an obnoxious teenager, whether it was good or bad, all those things happened for a reason. They made me into the person I am today.
And you think that's good news?
Shut up, David.
At least someone said it.
He knows that I love him. Of course, it is good news. It's wonderful news. He knows I love him. And Jenna, just so we're clear about this, I think we can be confident, because you don't know how much time Will and I spend together. You can be confident that Will can take care of himself. He doesn't need you to. Will, do you need Jenna to protect you from me? We ought to be clear about this.
I mean, I don't, but I still appreciate it.
Yeah, good answer.
And sometimes.
So Jenna, what would you tell your past self?
To be honest, a lot of things, and there are things that I would say that would still apply now, but we'll just go with one. That the world doesn't hate you, like you're going to be fine, and to just like chill for 2 seconds, because a lot of times I'm running just 4 million miles per hour, and I think a lot of times I need to be reminded that the world doesn't hate me and I'm allowed to breathe.
No, Jenna,
I felt that one.
The world loves you, Jenna. So last question before we go to break. And you guys know what the last question is, of course. So Jenny, you get to answer this one first. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
So I thought about this a lot. And for me, I think it would be the ability to put all of my anxiety and perfectionism and everything that in my mind holds myself back, and put it in a box and be able to let it be for like an hour, maybe 2 hours a day, so I can actually do some things without having my mind going insane.
Will, how about you? One superpower, what would it be?
Let's see. I would choose to be able to slow down time, because I have problems with time, as in being on time to places. So if I slow down time, I could just kind of pop up and nobody would know whether I was late or not, or whether I just rolled out of bed.
So in other words, you want to basically use that so you can be the Flash, basically. So you can be quick when everybody else is slow.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, gang. We're going to take a brief break right now to get your questions for Will and Jenna organized. If you have a question to ask, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom screen and ask it, and we'll get things organized to ask your questions when we return. Please, folks. I know that lots of you, I noticed some of you who are here. I know you guys have a lot of questions for Will and Jenna. Please do not be shy about asking them. We do want to have that kind of conversation for you to have with these two outstanding folks here. So please ask those questions. But first, we're going to have our mid-show break with the song All I Want for Christmas Is You by Mariah Carey. So we'll see you in 2 minutes after we hear from Mariah.
Cool.
Well, that was a little bit weird, huh? This show is being produced from outside Chicago today, gang, and so we'll blame Chicago for this. Anyway, a couple of things about that song. All I Want for Christmas Is You. So that was by Mariah Carey. So it's kind of interesting. So in putting together the holiday song stuff, I was curious. So geek that I am, I did a little bit of research. Here's a couple of things about the song. So this song is 26 years old. And it's first recorded by Mariah for her 1994 Christmas album. But it got to #1 for the first time last year for 3 weeks. And just got to #1 this year, this past week. So it's basically spent 4 weeks at #1, which makes it the second holiday song to ever spend that much time at #1. So think just for a second in your own mind and guess which holiday song you think has been #1 for as many as 4 weeks ever in the past. I'll give you just a few seconds to think about it. And now I'm going to tell you. That most memorable song, the Chipmunk Song by Alvin and the Chipmunks from 1958. Yep. And by the way, if you think it took Mariah a long time to get to the top of the charts, Jose Feliciano's Feliz Navidad made it to #10 this year, its highest ever. And that's 50 years after that song was released. So Mariah did it in Zoom time. And Laurie's telling us that she loved the Chipmunks. And I've noted from before, so Laurie, Brian, and I've talked about this. She's clearly very guilty. Brian is very jealous of Theodore. We know all about that, but never mind. So let's go and ask some questions, see what kind of questions our audience has. So Will and Jenna, you up for some questions now?
I'm down for some questions.
Okay. So first question comes from Liz Kantor. Liz, I thought you were out in Hill Country in Texas and were unavailable. So
I am, but they have Wi-Fi out here and fast Wi-Fi in Hill Country.
Well,
no
yeehaw.
street lights, but fast Wi-Fi.
So, what's your question for Will and Jenna?
So I know that Will and Jenna have siblings, and I wanted to know who was the favorite sibling and why is it you?
Because I'm the most prettiest.
Oh no.
Jenna, how are you going to answer that question?
Well, to be honest, I think Jillian's the favorite sibling because she's way more fun than I am.
I could tell you're not a middle child.
Nope. I have chronic oldest child sibling. Like, it is bad. But Jillian is way more fun than I am. And she's also adorable, so people love her better. They just like talking to me because I sound like I'm about 60 years older than I actually am.
Okay, Grammy. So we don't normally allow this, but it is our Christmas show. So our producer, Carol, has a question for you guys. So Carol, you're up with Will and Jenna.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Okay, so the church building at 21600 Shaker is kind of like a second or third home to each of you. What is something you did there that would surprise some of us who are watching this show?
Jenna, what do you got? Jenna, you go first. Will, you go second?
Surprise you? I don't know about that. Again, let's go back to the point of I'm not very fun. So
oh, come
really
on, Jenna.
Done anything adventurous. I met Will there. That was pretty fun. Hey, Will, would you like me to tell the story of how we met?
I don't even remember, so go ahead.
Oh, I do. Let's go. So I met Will at a Chalice Lighters meeting. Oh yeah. And I was drinking tea because, again, I'm 60 years older than I am. See, now he remembers. And it was dark. And of course, I guess the power was out, or like he couldn't turn on a light switch. He went to the bathroom. He came back and he was like, I just pooped in the dark. And 8-year-old me thought this was bloody hilarious. And I laughed so hard that tea went up my nose. So that's how I met Will.
So, Will,
Lord
what is
have
something you
mercy.
did? Will, what's your surprise adventure from being in the church building?
I actually injured myself a few times. Not like serious injuries, but speaking of challenge sliders, one particular moment I remember was it was a challenge sliders meeting. It was late at night and we were playing Glorp, which for people who don't know what Glorp is, there's a Glorp which is supposed to represent oppression, and you had 3 pieces of a flashlight and you have to find it before the Glorp does. But anyway, I had to realize this day that I am not French, therefore I am not good at parkour. that big flight of steps right where the kitchen is, not the back steps by the emergency exit. You guys know what steps I'm talking about. Yeah. I decided it would be a good idea to jump that entire flight of steps. And whose child did I hurt myself?
Yeah, great job.
I think that's exactly what Carol was looking for in that question.
But I am disappointed, Jenna, that you do not have a story. This is my challenge to you. There must be something.
But I'm not surprised.
Yeah, no, I'm not either. Just disappointed.
This is what I'm saying.
To be fair, the tea was hot and she shot the tea out her nose. That wouldn't be a pleasant feeling. Like, she's not a dragon.
Honestly painful.
So let's move on to our next question. Next question comes from Allison Bastion. Allison, you're on with Will and Jenna.
Oh, okay. Hi, Will and Jenna. It's nice to see you guys. Hi. So I actually have 2 questions. Will, I don't know, Jenna, if you ever did cons, but I know Will did cons, and I wonder if you could tell me what's your best memory from cons.
Oh man, I have so many. I guess one of them would be performing at all the talent shows.
Oh yeah.
that would be a really big one. Another one of them was staying up to the odd hours of the morning, considering that, especially during the days when I did We Run the City in middle school, I would be up until like 6, 7 in the morning running on a very minimal hours of sleep, and then would have to go run an entire race.
I remember one of those times, Will, trying to explain to you that you really did need to get some sleep, but you didn't go to sleep.
I didn't go to sleep, and then I remember you and Chris Castle were trying to get me to eat something for breakfast, and I was just like, nah.
That's so true. I totally remember that. That was funny.
My mother would tell you, I was absolutely dead those days, because after I was done with the race, I would come home, my mother would be like, all right, William, it's time to go to XYZ location. I'd be like, all right, I'm just going to take a quick nap, to go take a shower. Then I'll wake up 6 hours later and be like, where did everybody go? Why is it dark? I want my mama.
Jenna, did you do cons? Did you do any?
So I did one. By that time, like it was very convenient because it was at the church.
Oh yeah.
And I was in middle school, I think, and it's the only one I've ever done. I really wish I could do another one. But like Will said, it's very faint, but I was seriously sleep deprived. And I just remember having the absolute time of my life with these people and making friends with older kids, which had not been an experience for me. And of course I got along because, again, I'm an old person. Teenagers.
You're older than you look.
Absolutely.
She's older than me.
Let's move on. We're getting a little bit tight on time here. Let's move on here. Mary Ellen McNulty, you have a question for Jenna and Will.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
I remember after the cons, by the way, teaching Sunday school, and the rooms smelled like what?
That wasn't me. I washed up.
I have no doubt it wasn't you, Will. I just remember walking in going, I don't care if it's cold, the windows have to be open at least for a little bit.
Just
oh yeah, I don't blame you because it was stank.
It smell like death. Okay, yes, I do have a question. Okay, what do you both hope to do in the future? Will, I know you're studying education. I don't know what you want to teach, what grade, what.
Well, I'm currently an integrated social studies major, and my degree is in teaching 7th through 12th grade. So I
Okay.
plan on teaching my ultimate plan is to teach high schoolers, but I'm going to go wherever I'm needed.
Do you want to stay here in Cleveland?
Not especially, but if I have to, I will.
Okay. All right. Jenna, what
Jenna?
about you? And you don't have to have an answer yet.
That's good because I don't.
Okay.
I genuinely have no idea because there are a lot of things that I'm on paper really good at, but nothing that I'm really passionate about, if that makes sense. So the one thing that I know I want to do is I want to go to college, and that will be in state unless a scholarship appears. Other than that, I know I want to be dealing with people. I want to be able to communicate and help people to some extent in whatever job I'm doing.
Okay, so we're getting 10 on time here. We're going to try to squeeze in 2 last questions. Lori Albright, you're on with Jenna and Will.
Hi, Jenna and Will.
Hi, Lori.
Hello.
Enjoy you guys so much. So great that you're doing this and on an ongoing basis. My question has to do with traveling. And I'm asking it because travel has been such a awesome experience in my life. So my question to each of you is, can you talk about either a place you have traveled and or a place you would like to travel to, and under what circumstances, like as part of school, travel solo, travel with a small group? What traveling have you done or you're looking forward to?
I'll let you answer that one first, Jenna.
Okay. So my travel has been mostly minimal. I think I've gone to Canada and Canada and in the States. I was supposed to go to the Caribbean for spring break this year, but COVID. And in the future, I think I would love to travel. I have an odd obsession with airports. I love being in airports and I love flying and I love seeing all sorts of different people. And I have a true fascination with different cultures. So any avenue, foreign exchange student, like small groups, like travel agents, literally anything to get to travel, I would absolutely love that.
Will?
Well, a lot of my traveling has come from going to cons and doing UU events like Thrive and General Assembly. One of my fondest memories of traveling was when me and my family road trip to New Orleans in 2017 for General Assembly. And that was really nice because we stopped in a lot of different places, We went to Louisville briefly. We stopped in the metropolitan area over there. Then we had dinner at Cracker Barrel in Tennessee, which those green beans, they hit different. And then we drove through, we actually ended up driving through a hurricane, I think in Mississippi, right? It was as my mother says, a tropical storm. This is a fancy way to say hurricane. But we drove through a tropical storm, and then it was really nice going to New Orleans and just being immersed in the culture and, going to the French Quarter, going to the original Café du Monde and having beignets and Café au lait.
Café du Monde is a place that Marianne and I both know very well, Will. Good choice.
Yes, I love it. I plan on going back for when I turn 21 because, it's a very fun state for somebody who is 21 and up. Not very much for a 17-year-old under the supervision of their parents. But But as far as travel plans, I someday want to travel to the Caribbeans or like to the, what are they called? The East Indies. So that general region, but more specifically, I want to travel to places like Jamaica and Puerto Rico because of the rich history that both of those islands have, especially when it comes to like Black culture.
So we're gonna run over a couple of minutes here, gang, to get in our last question and wrap up here. Nancy King-Smith, you get a question with Will and Jenna. What do you got?
Okay, a quick one. It's been great to get to know both of you somewhat better. And so my question for both of you is, if a friend asks you what Unitarian Universalism is, what's your elevator speech?
Well, I've had to explain this one before because a friend of mine who was a very devout atheist did not understand the concept that me, who also identifies as an atheist, can still practice a faith, and even has made fun of my tattoo on several occasions because of its it's right there.
There it is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we got it now. Yeah, we got it there.
Has made fun of my tattoos, pretty much saying that, how are you atheist, but you still follow a religion? So pretty much what I explain to people who ask me about this is that Unitarian Universalism is a faith that allows for the free search of truth and meaning, and that it's less of a commandment religion and more of a covenant that we agree to follow the 7 principles. Like, we're not necessarily obliged to follow them, but we agree to, and that everyone is in charge of searching for their own truth and meaning, because as David was saying earlier in the show, he grew up an Orthodox Jew, and a lot of people in this church have grown up practicing different faiths, including my family as well. My family grew up as Baptist. So that's pretty much what I explain to everybody when they ask.
Thanks.
Great answer. Jenna?
For me, I'm kind of in the same boat where people don't really understand. I talk about what I don't agree with religion quite often. And so people don't usually know what it is, and I try to explain that to them. And usually runs down with, it's a giant melting pot of openness and welcoming people, and acceptance of everything across the board, and freedom to believe and explore literally anything. And that's like less profound than what Will explained, but that's usually what I chalk it up to.
Well, thanks,
Sounds
Will.
like
Jenna.
Judaism to me.
Great answers. Well, we're running out of show here. So each episode, we read some of your emails and texts, but I read just a couple of them right now. But if you have something to share with us about a comment or a question or a suggestion or a story, please share them with us. Carol, do we have that slide that says where to send this stuff to? Maybe we do. Send your comments or questions or stories to zoomin@uucleveland.org. That's zoomin@uucleveland.org. A couple of things from last time. One we got was from Andy Miller, who's the brother of Mike Miller, who's the co-chair of our ministerial search task force, was our guest on our last show. Andy says, what an excellent way to spend an hour. Good to see brother Mike and hear from some of his Cleveland friends. And then something from Kathleen Binnig about her wishes for the new year. I wish to see my granddaughter in 2021. Elliot Catherine Binnig will be 1 year old on January 7, 2021. Last time we saw her and her parents, she was 1 month old. Yeah, Kathleen, I feel your pain. We saw our grandson when he was first born for several months, when he and his family were out here for the summertime. We've not seen him since early September, so I feel your pain there. So Jen and Will, thanks for being our special guest tonight. But more than that, Carol, Liz, and I want to thank both of you for being such a terrific part of the UUCC Zoom and Live team. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Our next show, everybody, will be on Monday, January 11th. Our special guest will be Steve Dole, who's a member of the UUCC board and a staffer at the Cuyahoga County Board of Elections. Steve will walk us through his personal journey, which does not have to do with hanging chads and becoming an elections maven. And also some observations about all the election logistics. Others might call them shenanigans. we've been observing and experiencing through the last couple of months. Again, that's Monday, January 11th. We're running on a show. So gang, let's give a major league round of applause to Carol Gay, our producer.
Yay! Yay!
Carol has to make sure that things actually happen. So thank you, Carol. If you'd like to catch up with your fellow congregants, there's a link in the chat function to a UUCC Zoom room. No host, no guests, just a chance to chat with your fellow UUs. And we're going to leave you tonight with a song that Will Barrett selected. And no, it's not by Lil Nas. It's Last Christmas by Wham. We're looking forward to seeing you in 2 weeks for the next episode of UUCC Zoom in Live. Will and Jenna, say good night to everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you for
Good
coming.
night, everybody. Thanks very much.
Good night, everybody.
Woo!
Mighty fine show.
So please remember this December.